Good evening. We're calling the meeting of the Hawai'i Neighborhood Board to order. My name is Roberta Mayer, and I am representing Sub-District 10. I'm going to ask the board members to introduce themselves, starting at my far right with Herb.
Hi, everybody. Whoa. Hi, everybody. Herb Schreiner. I'm in Sub-District 6, which is the back of Kamiloiki Valley area. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night.
Hi, I'm Holly Lyons. I'm in Kauapa Isle.
Good evening, Elijah Lee, Sub-District 5.
Greg Knudsen at large.
The gentleman to my right is Brandon Sark, and he is our new neighborhood assistant. And I would like to recognize Jeffrey Jones, our longtime neighborhood assistant. This is his last night with us. And thank you, Jeffrey, for 2 or 3 years, I think, of your assistance. And also recognizing Jordan behind the camera, our Olelo videographer. Continuing.
Aloha, everyone. Samuel Wolf, Sub-District 4, the condo towers in Hawai'i Valley.
Joseph Pugh, Sub-District 7, Kalama Valley.
Paige Alton, Sub-District 11, Portlock Road and Mauna Lua Triangle, Kokokai.
So welcome board members and welcome members of the audience. The neighborhood board elections have just ended, and a number of our board members chose not to run again. And many of us who did choose to run ran uncontested. And so the neighbors didn't get a ballot for those seats that are uncontested. So several of us will be returning and some will not be returning. We are a 15-member board, and the elections for the next term, a 2-year term, begins in July. We will have 4 vacant seats. And I would like to urge community members to come to the board and apply to volunteer to fill those vacant seats. We're going to have a vacancy in Sub-District 1, which is Kauai High Street and part of Hawai'i Street. That section at the entry to Hawai'i area. We're going to have an opening in Sub-District 3, which is Hahaiʻione Valley. We're going to have an opening in Sub-District 8, which is Lunalilo Park, Mauka. This is the area between Kaiser High School and Kamiloiki Elementary. And Sub-District 9 will also be vacant, Lunalilo Park, Makai, and that is the section Eva side of, not Eva side, Makapu'u side of Lunalilo Home Road, which includes Kaiser High School. So hopefully there will be members of the community that will seek to fill those seats. If they remain vacant for 3 or 4 months, we may ask for permission to change those sub-district seats to at-large seats so that we can have more community involvement. But we would like to urge members of those neighborhoods to please join us and volunteer. We're going to be moving on with our status reports. And the first on our list is the Honolulu Fire Department. Welcome, Captain.
So incident statistics for April 2025. Can I hear? Oh, yeah. All right. 1 wildland brush fire, 4 activated fire alarms, 79 medical calls, 7 motor vehicle collisions and crashes, 3 mountain rescues, 1 hazmat incident. Fire safety tip for May 2025 regards home fire sprinklers. Fire sprinklers serve as the first line of defense against fires and often extinguish the fire before the fire department arrives. For more information, visit homesprinklers.org. Fire sprinklers quickly A fire can turn deadly in under 2 minutes. Synthetic materials burn quickly and release deadly poisonous smoke. High-risk individuals in home fires include small children, elderly adults, those with disabilities, and pets. Fire sprinklers protect your home and family and activate automatically to control the fire, thereby giving everyone a chance to escape. The best protection is having working smoke alarms, fire sprinklers, and a practiced fire escape plan. Information about Honolulu's ordinances relating to fire safety is available at fire.honolulu.com. It's the report for. Thank you.
Thank you. Captain, last month, when you had left early before we had a very vigorous discussion about wildfire mitigation and strategies. And I'll have more to say about that in just a minute, but we're sorry you weren't here for that discussion.
Another individual, not me, last month, but I'll be able to.
Oh, that's right. It was firefighter Austin Kino who was here.
Firefighter 1.
Yeah. Okay, so Paige, you had a question?
Thank you for your report, Captain. Quick question for you. I don't know if you're going to know this information. The condo units that we have here, Mauna Luan, Commodore, Heritage House, all the condo units we have on the backside of Hawai'i Drive and Mount Terrace, do they all have sprinkler systems in those buildings?
That's a good question. No, the answer is no, not all of them have.
Do we know which ones do not?
Which condos? Some sprinklers are in a basement, like at the Mount Terrace area would have.
Okay.
But as far as like fire systems inside the individual units, most do not have. Right?
Most do not. Okay. And obviously Mount
The
Terrace,
newest one, 7,000.
7,000 Hawai'i.
Yeah, so that one has.
Mount Terrace is probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest.
Yes, does not have sprinklers.
Yeah, so it doesn't have a sprinkler system within the property,
Individual units.
individual units, but each property has.
There may be some located in like the parking structure may have some.
Okay. All righty. So is that for the residents of those buildings and for Hawai'i, is it worth looking into as a community to see that those buildings may get upgraded, or how we can maybe
So there,
help those?
so each individual unit or condo, starting with Plaza, Naniwa, Heritage House, they're all addressing it as an individual community, but the threat for a high-rise fire on the general like community of all of Hawai'i, thousands of there outside of each individual, it's mostly directed for those people, the ordinances that are coming in the retrofitting and the dues that come with that.
Okay.
That's more for the individual apartments.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Following our discussion last month, I reached out to Hawai'i Strong, who is going to be trying to pull together Department of Emergency Management and HPD and HFD to try to address possible evacuation routes for the area. So I'm sure that at some point the fire department will be involved. Also next month, Hawaiian Electric will be coming to make a presentation on its wildfire safety strategy. So maybe you might want to be involved in that, or at least listening in, on the online to what they have to say. But
That's it for the next meeting? Next
June,
month? Next
yes. Uh-huh. But thank you very much. Are there any other questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Members of the community? Yes, come on up.
Hi, Captain. I'm Cheryl Clark. I had a question. Did you say that there was a wildland fire in April?
One wild brush fire.
Where?
That I'm not exactly sure. I know I didn't.
Okay, so this isn't the arcing incident that occurred in May. that there was no report of the fire department, right? This is different. You didn't want to cool up.
Yeah. As far as for me, this
I mean,
is the
not
this is
March.
for April.
So whatever occurred in April, there was an actual brush fire somewhere in Hawaii Kai, but you don't know where.
I don't have the. I can get the, like, where the location is.
Yeah, like.
For next one.
You know, what was the impact?
Yeah, I don't have the exact report or information on that. There was one incident.
Yes, Elizabeth?
You know, it would be really good if you do share that kind of intel because we have Firewise communities out here, and I know you're familiar with Hawaii Wildfire Management. And I think it's only going to help spur more interest and, you know, best practices for Firewise mitigation. So if you're able to share, that would be really great. Thank you.
Any other questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Thank you very much, Captain, for coming and sharing the report with us tonight. Honolulu Police Department, Lieutenant Miura, I see you online.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Lieutenant Mira from District 7. So we're going to begin with the statistics. Reported statistics for April, we have motor vehicle thefts, 2, burglaries at 1, thefts at 11, unauthorized entry into a motor vehicle at 24. Total calls for service, 6,334. Going into the tips is going to be regarding tsunami facts. These are more for, I guess, the more local, immediate, you know, obviously if something happens on the mainland or outside the Pacific Rim, there's a little bit more time. But say if an earthquake were to happen on the Big Island or something like that, some things is like to evacuate immediately to safe zones, inland to high ground and away from low-lying coastal areas. Do not wait for an official warning as there may not be time. Go on foot or bicycle if at all possible. Do not pack your belongings or delay. And do not return to the beach. Large waves may continue to come onshore for several hours. And I did want to follow up with a couple of issues that's been brought up recently. So we had talked about the boats with trailers, I know in Kalapaki. So one of the trailers, it was actually moved. So the officers have been addressing it. Multiple citations were issued and also marked for abandoned vehicle. Jolukela Park officers are at night, especially they're continuing to make checks at night, clearing it out and take enforcement. They haven't encountered anybody at the park at night recently that I know of. And the blue bus at Sandy Beach, as well as other vehicles, the officers have been taking proactive measures, and the blue bus and the other abandoned vehicles are no longer there as far as we know.
Excuse me, Lieutenant, did you say that the blue bus is moved away or
Yeah,
it's gone?
Yes.
That's good to know because I received additional emails about the increase of homeless out at Sandy Beach and Vavamalu Beach. So it's good to hear that some of the abandoned vehicles or the old vehicles that are used by homeless are gone. Are there questions for Lieutenant Miura? Yes, Paige?
Hi, Lieutenant. Thank you so much for your report. Quick question. Do you guys track like the guy who's living in a tent at Jolukela Park? Do you track how long he's been there with his tent and his bikes and his chairs and his belongings? Or is that something you need the public to call you about?
I mean, we don't really track them. I guess the hard one for us at night, when we go at night, because I drive by there too, and I don't see anybody out there at night. During the daytime, we do see him. I know which individual you're talking about. So he is there during the daytime. I don't know if the daytime officers track, but obviously he can be there legally during the daytime. So I don't know exactly how long he's been there.
Well, he has fishing poles out, so he knows obviously that if he puts a fishing pole out, he can stay there all night. And I have seen him there at night. So I just didn't know if that's something that you guys would actually consciously take notice of and do something about, or if that's something you needed the public to
Yeah.
actually bring to your attention.
So the officers are really good, especially they, they know that this is, it's been an issue. So
Okay.
they do make, nightly checks. But if you do see, for whatever reason, if you do see, that individual in the park after hours, we always encourage people to call 911. That way we can address the problem, right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Even though, you guys can't do anything if he has fishing poles out, correct?
Well, if it's at nighttime, we can still enforce because the park is closed.
But the park is not closed to fishermen. My understanding is that if you're fishing, you can be there 24/7.
No.
Am I wrong on that?
Well, I mean, if he's on the park, then the shoreline, and it gets into the kind of like the technicalities. But when he sets up his tent and stuff, when the officers go, there's nothing there.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Greg?
Hi. Just even arriving at this meeting tonight, turning on to PPKO, there were like 5 e-bikes. This woman here was right behind them, and I was where I could see as well, and 3 of them popped wheelies just going up the residential street. Probably the other 2 joined in. Seems like since there's been attention to that problem, I see more and more throughout the city, but right here in Hawai'i Kai, and just this evening. So what I'm wondering, has there been any police record of any kind of warnings, arrests, anything that would draw attention to it? Because pretty much anytime I see a cluster of teenagers on e-bikes, there's going to be some reckless driving. So I just wonder if you're alerted in the same way and if there's been any action taken.
Yes, the short answer is yes. Department-wide, island-wide, the e-bike is, I mean, we've all seen it. The e-bike concerns, it's been a issue. So the department-wide, everybody is taking proactive action. It is a complaint and that's being addressed. So the officers understand to try and be proactive with these type of violations.
Herb?
Hello, Lieutenant. 2 things. One, the e-bike thing just reminded me that at Kamilawiki Community Park, we got e-bikes pretending to be dirt bikes. I did see an officer there stopping a couple of them, but it's still happening. So that's just an alert. And
Okay.
And then the second thing is Kalapaki Street, the trailers and boats. There's still about 3 violations still going on. One is a jet ski that's on a trailer. The other one is just a trailer, but it has the license number on it. And then there's one further down. So I just want to bring it up if you can, I don't know if what the guys did helped, but they might want to continue for a little while. But appreciate you coming. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Holly?
Hi, good evening. I have a question. Today down at the Ki'iwi shoreline, there's a burned out vehicle that's in the parking lot. Can you share with me what that is and when it will be removed? What happened and when it'll be removed?
I don't have the specifics on that. I know just real briefly about that. So I know for DLNR, they're supposed to be, I guess, the ones working on that vehicle, given the location of it. So I don't have, that was the last information I got regarding that vehicle.
Any other comments or questions? Lieutenant, on our agenda tonight, again, is a consideration of park closure hours for Camilo Iki Park. And this came up last month. I'm not sure whether or not any officers have had an opportunity to observe if there's any activity going on at the park after 10 p.m. Do you have anything, any feedback on that? And whether or not it might be a good idea to close the park at night?
Sure thing. I don't have any personal knowledge as far as, any encounters over there recently. But again, of course, it's always encouraged if people do actually see any violations to call us. That way we can go and address it. I think signs should be something that if signs can be erected to have park closure hours, that's always going to be helpful, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us tonight and for your report.
Thank
Gonna
you.
We're going to be moving on to the Board of Water Supply. Iris Oda, thank you for joining us.
Everyone, good evening. Oops, I'll just leave this. I announced the main breaks from April, which there was one on the 22nd of April. It was a 6-inch main near fire hydrant N06914, which I looked that up. It's on Honokahua Street near Ipuai. I think if I'm saying it correctly. So there was that one main break. We have one general announcement. It's the summer water conservation tips. So the sun is turning up the heat. The summer is just around the corner. So it's important to ensure we're saving every drop of water to keep our community strong and sustainable today and for the future generations to come. So some easy ways to save water this summer. You can go to our boardofwatersupply.com/7ways, and this is some of the things listed. So water your plants early in the morning to reduce evaporation. Take shorter showers. Check for toilet leaks. The culprit is usually a faulty flapper. Don't let the faucet run and run, and apply for the Board of Water Supply rebates for water efficient appliances and systems. So saving water not only helps conserve this precious resource, but it can also reduce your water bill. So what I gave that one notice about the checking your toilet for leaks on the table, and I gave to the members, there's a little white package here that has 2 toilet dye tablets. You put one in your toilet tank and you let it sit for 15 minutes and see if blue comes out into your bowl. If there is blue in your bowl, there is a leak between your tank and your bowl, which they say might be your flapper. So just grab one. If you can get one, grab one on your way out. It's on the table where you signed in. Okay. And then follow up from last month. So the member had asked about the condo, the moorings, and she was noticing they were wondering if they had a leak or if there was high usage. So I did that development of that apartment area has 9 individual meters that serve the area. So I did give her the water bill so they can look at it. We noticed that there is, 5 of the 9 showed an increase in water usage. Some were slight as compared to the previous months, while some might be more significant. So by the conservation, our communications office said, to support water conservation at these multifamily properties, we offer presentations to these townhomes and residences. So you can, it can be conducted on site or virtually. So we can present why water conservation matters, practical water saving tips, how to check if your fixtures are water efficient, and how residents can apply for the water rebates, that BW's rebates. So if you're interested, you can contact Stephen Nordstrom at 808-748-5368 or snordstrom@hbws.org. Okay, so, oh, sorry, I had one more follow-up. Excuse me. Member Herb, let's see. Oh, okay, I guess that night you had heard about this legislature. Today said that vacant home tax might be based on water usage. How are the condos served by 1 meter going to be able to check for vacant units? So I was told using water usage to determine vacant single-family and multifamily homes is just one option being explored by the City Council in the first phase of the study. They are also considering other methods such as electrical usage to identify unoccupied properties. So relying on water usage for multifamily properties presents challenges, as many of them are shared with master meters. So the bill hasn't, please note, the bill has not passed yet, the City Council, and the methodology falls outside the Board of Waters purview. So for more information, we suggest contacting the chair about this bill. Okay, and that's all. If there's any follow-up questions or questions.
Okay, Ilse?
Thanks, Elsie.
Thank you so much for giving this information. And just looking at it quickly, I think the most helpful information is that it has both the account number and the meter number for each meter. Because you can get the account number from a detailed billing statement, but it will not tell you which meter goes with which account. But given that we have the meters now, then we can actually go and look and see which areas, which buildings are served by each meter. Thank you so much.
We got it, Chief. Thank you.
Any questions for the Board of Water Supply? I see none. Thank you very much, Iris, for joining us tonight. We're going to be moving on to our Kaiser Complex Schools. And thank you, Mr. Shannon Gu, Principal of Hawai'i Elementary, for being here with us tonight.
Aloha board. Thank you so much for having me here and letting me present. Lots going on in the Kaiser Complex of Schools. It's a very busy month, probably the busiest month of the year. So I'd like to share lots of stuff, but I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. We're proud to, and this is first Kaiser High School. We're proud to announce that Kaiser High School is now an authorized TED Ed student talk school. That means that they will be recording and presenting students with the quotes, ideas worth spreading. So pretty good authorization. So we'll see what comes of that. Wanted to announce some awardees. Vera Wang awarded Hawaii State winner of the Stockholm Junior Water Prize, and that's through a science fair project that she did. Congratulations to Eliana Schiffner, Oahu's high school's girls surf champion on the shortboard. So congratulations to her. We have some other students who also placed high in the competition, both on the shortboard and longboard. Congratulations to teacher at Kaiser High School, Paul Balaz. He was the National Life Group's Life Changer of the Year runner-up. So this is people that make a significant difference in the students' lives. And he was named one of 15 awardees out of 750 entries nationwide. Congratulations to student Ethan Yang, who attained the Top Citizen Scholar Award. Very prestigious. Congratulations to Jeff Pitathawachi, and he was named a Vietnam War Essay Contest winner. So we have a good mix of sports and academics and extracurricular. Congratulations to Makoa Arnett Cook, Voice of Democracy National 5th place winner. And then Cougar and Junior Tim Lorge made history as the youngest person to cross the Kaiwi Channel. So pretty awesome. Congratulations to our business Cougars who won the Chaminade Business Competition, 2nd place winners in that competition. Many spring sports. I know sports kind of takes the spotlight a lot of times, but I just wanted to mention that we did very well. Softball went to states, baseball to states, water polo definitely went far. Golf, we had a couple students who go very far, and then flag football went to the Hawaii tournament. And then finally, Kaiser High School had their commencement exercises last week, Friday. And so many accolades, including 57 valedictorians, top speakers, the class president, top valedictorian, amongst others. And then we had some student performers. It was very special. So one group presented the Mauna Lua Oli. Kami Murakami, senior, sang the Star Spangled Banner, beautiful rendition. And a student group sang the Hawaii Pono'i. One thing I want to point out about Kaiser commencement and any public school commencement is that something very special is unity. So this is Oka'aina. So in the broader definition, this is kids from the community who grew up together, learned together, matured together, and now graduating together. And so they stand one last time before going out into the world. And that's what makes a public school graduation so special. And so proud of our Kaiser High School graduates who came through our many elementary schools and our middle school, New Valley, and then on to Kaiser. So congratulations to them. That's about all I have for the report. If anybody would like to ask questions.
Questions for Mr. Gu? Mr. Gu, I also want to add my comments. I attended the Kaiser High School graduation last Friday night. There were thousands of people there. It was really inspiring. So many young people going out into the world, and I believe very well prepared to do good things for our community. I also want to announce that Kaiser High School did receive a 6-year term of accreditation. They, of course, will have periodic revisits, but they do have a 6-year term of accreditation. Also, I requested of the Safe Routes to School program that they do a walking audit of some of our schools in our area. And I understand they are coming out to do an assessment of Hawai'i's walk to school area. And I hope to be part of that event as well.
Mhm.
And I hope that Camilo Iki is also following up on that because I think that their area is also very dangerous if cars are speeding in that area. But I think it's wonderful that they're coming out to our area to do that Safe Routes to School audit. So
That was born of a vulnerability assessment done by our safety and security office in the state of Hawaii. And so they come and then they make recommendations and they help us to partner with Department of Transportation. So we're pretty fortunate for these great systems to help our schools become safer and safer. And all schools are going through that too. Every 3 years, they'll have a vulnerability assessment.
and I mentioned to them that our community is not opposed to maybe a speed hump or two in the area if needed to reduce speeding. You have a comment, Joseph?
Yeah, does that assessment also include,
It's
Yeah.
coming up. It's coming up.
that will include, New Valley Middle? I know that we had a New Valley Middle School. I know that the Kalama Valley resident talked about having to cross, so there's no assessment there. It's only within,
We can certainly ask it of
Okay.
the Safe Routes to School chair, who I think is going to be coming to do that assessment, or their representative. So we could ask that maybe that be extended to the middle school as well. Other comments for Mr. Gu? If not, thank you very much, Mr. Gu. It's always so inspiring to hear all of the good things that are happening.
Thank you so much, Board. Thank you.
Online, we have the representative from the Hawaii State Department of Transportation Services, Galen Wong. So I'm going to ask Galen, are you online and able to share information that affects our community? Galen, you're muted. I see that you're going to
yeah.
be sharing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, and you're going to be sharing your screen with us. I understand. So go ahead. Okay, Galen, we're ready for you.
Hello? Can you see this screen?
The screen is blank.
Okay, I'm trying to figure this out. First time I'm using this. Um, let me see. Share my screen. Okay.
All right, we see something coming up on the screen.
Okay. Okay. Okay, this is the yeah, can you hear me? I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the report that our engineers did, and that was completed last week. So I'm just gonna go over the report. So what they did was they reviewed the um, Kalani Anole Highway and Coco Marina Center driveways, and they looked at, I guess, 6 different scenarios as far as um, what they could do for the traffic study or for that intersection and the entrance of Coco Marina. And the 6 conceptual um, things that they put out there was one was the signalization of the shopping center driveway. 2 was converting westbound lane to eastbound left turn pocket. 3 was converting westbound lane to eastbound left turn pocket and signalization of the shopping center driveway. 4 is widening of the highway for eastbound left turn pocket. 5th was widening of the Kalana Highway to eastbound left turn pocket and signalization of the shopping center driveway. And the final one was, the 6th one was widening of the highway for eastbound left turn pocket and prohibiting left turns from the shopping center driveways. The turning movement data was collected on the following dates: September 17th, 18th, 19th, and 24th on weekday. And the weekends they did it on the September 21st, October 19th, November 9th, and January 18th of this year. So in reviewing the report, reviewing the 6 different scenarios, they have a benefit cost analysis ratio was calculated for each of the conceptual plans. Plans 2 to 6 based on the benefit cost analysis guidance for the discretionary grant programs of 2024 from the United States Department of Transportation. So in measuring these different scenarios, a ratio greater than 1.0 indicates that the project's benefits exceed its costs, while a ratio between 0 and 1.0 suggests that the benefits of the conceptual plan provides are less than the cost, and a negative benefit cost analysis ratio indicates a project provides negative net benefits for these projects.
Are you saying that all of these options are too cost prohibitive?
At at the time, well, at this current time, it is all of them. It's just that also you can look at the scenarios. Let me try to get to those different scenarios.
While he's looking at that, for our audience, the board had asked the State Department of Transportation to take a look at the issue of left turns out of the Coco Marina Shopping Center onto Kalani'anaole Highway and the dangers of that. And so this is a report back to the board about whether there is any feasible way to address that issue.
Okay. Yeah, can you see that that chart of the first signal, or the one that they would
We
the first one that
we
they looked
see
at?
we see a signal, a
Yeah,
little diagram with a
that'll be
signal in the
the
center.
yeah, that'll be the first
Plan one.
Plan one. Yeah, this provides a protected phase for the left turn signal out of the driveway. So this one would be um, provides a protected phase for the left turn traffic into and out of the shopping center. And then that's the pros, and the cons will be high implementation costs. This will be expected increase of queuing in the eastbound direction, and expected increase in the eastbound left turning vehicles blocking the through vehicles. So yeah, you have the two lanes, one going straight and one making the left turn at the signal, and that would cost right now $2.7 million, and it'll take about 9 months to implement
Okay,
or
hold,
build the
hold on,
phase.
Galen.
Yeah.
Yes, Paige.
Excuse me, thank you so much for this presentation. It's obvious that you've gone to a lot of work with this. However, this is a subject and this is an issue that needs to be put onto our agenda for a proper presentation where we have all schematics in front of us and all of this information in front of us, each of us as a board member, so we can follow along with what you're talking about, including all the cost analysis, because personally, I'm really confused with what you're talking about. And this is a subject that a lot of people in this community are really interested in. And I think it's only fair to announce to the community that this is going to be something that's on the agenda so it can be weighed in on. So this is not a 3-minute presentation under community announcements. This should be on the agenda. And this is too much to absorb in 3 minutes. And so I'm sorry, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the engineers gave me, and then I'm just presenting it to you and just showing you what they came up with, and it just you can look at it, and I forwarded the report to the
Yeah,
chair.
Galen, if you could forward that report to me, I will share it with the board members. But at this point, the summary of the report is that of the 6 options considered, all of them at this time are cost prohibitive. So the board will decide whether or not we need further information and a further presentation. Okay?
Right. So you can look at the 6 scenarios, and this would be something that the community or the board would have to decide if you guys want to pursue this, pursue any of the scenarios or
Would it be
plans.
possible for you to come to the next meeting next month when we all have this information in front of us and have been able to absorb some of it? Because
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
want
can.
more
I can
information.
come by next month because
But
I only
because
got
I
the
know you're
report.
saying,
Yeah, I only got the report over the weekend, and I'm not an engineer as far as looking at this, or I wasn't involved with the report or the
yeah.
study,
Well,
so I
you've done
can't
a
come
fabulous,
by.
no, you've done a fabulous job of explaining exactly what it is you're looking at. Unfortunately, we're not looking at the same. We're
Yeah.
not looking at that. So maybe if you're unable to make it next month, maybe somebody who was able to answer the plethora of questions that you're probably going to get on this report, because this is of interest to us, whether it's cost prohibitive to the city or the state, whatever, this is of interest to people in this community, and we are going to be asking questions on it. So again, very appreciated. You've done a fabulous job of presenting, but I think we just need to move forward with this as an agenda item.
Yeah, okay, I can do that. I mean, I emailed the report to Roberta this morning, so you can check the email. If not, I can email it again to her.
I did not get it, Galen.
Oh,
So
okay,
if you would
maybe.
send it again.
Yeah, I'll send it again. I'll attach it again. I don't know what happened.
Okay, thank you so
Okay.
much.
So yeah, yeah, that's what we got so far. So I'll just forward the email, the report, and then next month I'll attend the meeting, your meeting in June,
Okay, I will
and then we can
give you some
discuss it.
time. as under presentation so that you have a little more time to share this information.
Okay.
But
No,
getting
no,
the
no
report
problem.
early would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anything else besides this report that you wanted to share? Or do we want to hold that till next month?
I had a report. I mean, because I take care of our legislation for all our highways bills. I don't know if you want to go over my my report on what happened with our legislation on bills and stuff like that. So I
Maybe
could
we
save
can
that
hold
for.
that till next month also.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Okay.
your being here tonight.
Okay.
And
No problem.
we'll look forward to your report next month.
Okay. That's fine.
Thank you.
So we'll see you then.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to be moving on to community announcements. Are there announcements for the community from board members or members of the audience? Come on up.
Hi, Cheryl Park again, for Hawai'i Advocates for Respectful Development, also known as HARD, which has been working hard. So following in the footsteps of the Hawai'i Neighborhood Board, the legislature has now presented a certificate of appreciation that was sponsored by Representative Mark Hashem and presented by him and Senators Chris Lee and Stanley Chang to the James representative and its corporate sponsor, Fujitsu, for their many contributions to this community and the state of Hawaii for over 50 years. As a result of discussions during the presentation, HARD is working with Senator Lee to explore the possibility of the James property being leased by a charter school. And I hope that he will be able to provide some updates to you later in this meeting. I don't know, but I would be very anxious to hear about it. Several HARD members also met via Zoom with Kamehameha Schools Bishop Estates in April. Bottom line of that meeting is that KSBE is saying we still have no plan for their commercial properties. They did say that they've been meeting with many groups, but they didn't share any names or numbers of the people involved. And they offered to include HARD in future meetings. Now, HARD has also met a couple of times with Council Chair Tommy Waters, who is fully supportive of HARD's efforts and frustrated, like you, that KSBE has not shared their plan with him. He is planning to hold a town hall meeting to hear from the community what they want for our Hawai'i neighborhood. And I encourage everyone to attend once the details are finalized. Details will be posted on HARD's website at hawaiiadvocates.com when we get them. It's not quite finalized yet. And Council Chair Waters will be sending out a newsletter. Now, although KSBE continues to say that they have no plan, I think it's really important for the community and this board to remember that the city has adopted the East Honolulu Sustainable Communities Plan, which the city will use in considering future development plans for our area. And the plan specifically advises that the residential character of Hawai'i Valley be maintained. So that's an important plan to keep, in mind in discussions about any development for this community. And even if KSB has no plan, HARD now has thousands of signatures on its petition to preserve the James property and trees and to prevent more intensified development there and on the other two adjoining properties, 7-Eleven and Cocohead Plaza, which are between Hahaione and Pepeakeo streets. And this petition is consistent with the East Honolulu Sustainable Communities Plan. We still need more signatures, so we're encouraging whoever hasn't signed to please go online and sign at www.hawaiiadvocates.com. And finally, we've HART has had to redo its website, so we're still working on improvements. And we apologize if anyone has not been able to reach us via the website. You know, we're just a grassroots organization, so be patient and keep checking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. Paige,
Excuse me.
Cheryl, Paige has a question for you.
Two questions. What is HART's goal? What are you guys looking for? And the signatures that are on your petition that you're accepting, are those only registered voters that live in district, or are you accepting them from anywhere?
Let me answer that question first. Most of them are people from our district, adults. But whether or not they're registered voters, we don't ask that question. But I think if they get, you know, I think many people, once they get involved in an issue, might want to exercise the right to vote. And we're not limiting that to people in our district because the issues surrounding the development of this area goes beyond this district. You know, we're talking about also cultural, historic, environmentally important issues.
So you're allowing people who live in Waianae to sign your petition?
Yeah, but we don't have too many of those. Most of the people that have signed our petition are from this district,
From Hawai'i?
this area, yeah.
I shouldn't have said registered voters. Okay. And now what about the goal, HART's goal? What are you looking for?
Well, the petition calls for preservation of the James property, the building and trees, and that the government agencies not approve any development that would allow it to be to tear down any trees, large trees. You know, small trees are fine. So we just said like over 25 feet, or to prevent or to allow any more intensified development of that property. So whether it's a big higher building, you know, variance for a higher building, or more intensified developments such as a, you know, grocery store that would be bringing in people from outside our district deep into our valley. We don't think that things like that would be appropriate. And we haven't specifically identified specific goals as of this time, but it would have to be consistent with that. And we're very interested in hearing what the community says at Tommy Waters' town hall meeting, because that's the opportunity for people to show up and say what they consider appropriate development for this area.
So, but you're asking people to sign a petition, but you haven't, the only parameter on there is that you don't want any development other than what's there now.
We would prefer the status quo pretty much. We do not want more intensified development. Yeah. Yeah, commercial. Thank you.
Are there other community announcements from board members or members of the audience? I have a couple of announcements that I'd like to share with community at this time, rather than waiting till the end of the meeting when most of our audience is gone. I just wanted to let everyone know that as a follow-up to our vote at our last meeting, I did send a letter to the City Council and Tommy Waters of our action to oppose the use of general fund dollars to mitigate the increase in sewer fees. So that letter did go out to all of the City Council members. Also, following our vigorous discussion on fire mitigation and evacuation plans for the Hawai'i community, I reached out to Hawai'i Strong, to Kamehameha Schools, and to the Hawaiian Electric Company, and they all responded. And I shared their responses with the board members, but I would like to let the community know just a little bit of what their responses included. From Matt Glee, who is the who heads the Hawai'i Strong organization, he indicated that he is working with the Department of Energy Management to bring together the several stakeholders that need to be involved. Department of Emergency Management, Department of Transportation, Honolulu Fire Department, and Honolulu Police Department. He says this is not yet set up. People all over the island want this information. And when he is able to get them together to discuss this, he will let us know so we can decide how to solve this problem. So we expect to hear more from Matt in the future. I also received a lengthy response from Kamehameha Schools. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just a couple things from the response. Kamehameha Schools is working alongside government agencies, fire prevention authorities, and industry experts to explore a range of potential actions in Mauna Loa that are designed to mitigate fire danger and align with each community's distinct characteristics. Some of the treatments vary based on local factors, but could involve targeted vegetation management, reporting illegal dumping to authorities and removal of trash and debris, reintroducing native plant species in targeted areas, and installing artificial intelligence support fire detection cameras to enhance emergency fire responses. So in Hawai'i Valley, where steep and rugged terrain makes vegetation removal challenging and heightens risks like rock fall and runoff, they are contracting to install AI-supported fire detection cameras to strengthen emergency response. They are committed to working with the community to enhance wildfire resiliency and are partnering with the Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization to raise awareness and equip community members with tools to protect their homes and ohana. They did share a link to a PBS documentary that highlights what communities can do to address fire danger. In addition, Kamehameha Schools has indicated that responsibility for the INA is shared. It's one that calls for close coordination among government agencies, Hawaiian Electric Company, landowners, businesses, and homeowners alike. And since wildfires are often sparked and amplified by human activity, each of us holds a vital kuleana to malama and protect what we cherish. They also plan to launch a website in June that will provide the community with mitigation updates, schedules, and work projects across our community. So we're going to look forward to seeing what they put on that website and how much they're communicating to us. The response from Hawaiian Electric was a little bit lengthier, but they did indicate that they're using unmanned aircrafts or drones for aerial inspections of their electrical infrastructure in identified wildfire risk areas, including Hawai'i Valley and other areas of risk in East Honolulu that are not easily accessible. For some projects, we may plan for the use of helicopters to transport equipment and crews to the area, and in some instances, our crews will access the area with vehicles and by foot. Vegetation management is one of many efforts Hawaiian Electric uses to support the reliability of electrical service and to mitigate fire risk. They regularly inspect trees growing near power lines and contract certified vegetation management crews to trim trees growing into power lines throughout the islands. And they are working with public and private landowners to gain access to and through lands and landing zones in order to perform all of this work. They continue to invest in new technology and upgrades to the infrastructure, and they have recently installed dozens of fire-safe, sparkless fuses and lightning arresters to reduce the risk of ignition and to protect equipment from lightning strikes. They have also put in some circuits that will block the circuit from closing again after there has been some emergency. And so they will leave power off until they visually inspect the area and determine that it's safe to close the circuit and restore power. They did give us a telephone number. They indicated that when trouble is, there is a trouble line that is open 7 days a week, 24 hours, and they respond as quickly as possible. And if there is an emergency that requires immediate assistance, they recommend that we call 911. Now, Hawaiian Electric has a wildfire safety strategy plan that they have developed. It is available on their webpage. In addition, they have agreed to come to our June meeting to provide a presentation on all of these wildfire mitigation efforts. Okay, so I just wanted the community to be aware that all of these agencies did respond to our inquiry, and we will be hearing more from them in the future. Yes, Elizabeth?
Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm glad they're coming in June because they're doing work on the Ka'iwi Mauka lens, which they thought was Kamehameha School's land, but it's not. So look forward to hearing more about that. But then I also wanted to mention that a few weeks ago, we had a really good Firewise community engagement. As you know, Kamilanui Valley Mariners Cove is a nationally recognized Firewise community on the island of Oahu. And the people who own the cemetery land, Kamehameha Schools, Mariners Cove, and the farmers of Kamilanui Valley all have come together underneath Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. So we had a really good turnout in clearing 1 of 3 fire breaks, which is really important. So just wanted to share that since we're talking about Firewise efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Herb?
I don't know who else experienced it, but we had another blackout this morning, at least in my area. So I just, I know it's a little bit off of what you're talking about, but it is HECO. And we're getting too many of them, which is my issue on building more out here.
I'm sure that you can address that with them directly next month, Herb. We're going to be moving on to public generated issues. Is there anyone who has a public generated issue to share with us that they feel that the board needs to be aware of? Seeing none, we're going to be moving on to our present. Oh, I'm sorry. You have an issue. Please come on up.
Good evening. Jillian Lipsher. I came before this board a few months ago to bring to the board's attention a traffic issue on Kauai High Street. So I'm back. Kauai High Street's a residential thoroughfare, bus route with a double yellow line throughout its entirety. For the past 7 years, a commercial vehicle attached to a storage trailer has been parked on the street in clear violation of county ordinance. I believe the ordinance is defined in terms of hours, not years. This poses a traffic safety issue as the bus, as does any large vehicle that must swerve across the double yellow line to avoid the trailer. There are large dump trucks, West Oahu aggregates trucks that serve garbage bins on the Mauka side of the road that come through on a regular basis. And there are young children that play on the sidewalks close to the street. But this is not a good situation, and it's an accident, or perhaps, unfortunately, a tragedy waiting to happen that can be prevented both through council and HPD action. Following my earlier meeting at the board, I received a very polite email from Council Chair Waters' office explaining why the current ordinance was unable to address the issue. The ordinance was not written to include such situations, and the towing contract was not written to include larger vehicles. But no resolution on how it could be addressed. And an explanation from HPD has not yielded much results. I believe there are 3 clear paths to resolution. One, the legislative path, amend the ordinance to include language that would address this. That's a long-term issue. An intermediate term issue was to amend the contracts of the towing agencies so that it would include that they could tow larger vehicles. And the third, perhaps the shorter term resolution would have HPD regularly ticket the owner as to create an economic disincentive so that the vehicle could be moved. It is moved once a year when the Honolulu Marathon proceeds down the street, but that's about it. So I would like to ask this board if any or all of these proposals could be adopted by the board to prevent what could be a needless and costly situation, or worse, injury or loss of life. But I'd like to thank you again for being able to bring this to your attention. Thank you.
Could you clarify again the location of the parked vehicle?
It's on Kauai High Street. I believe it's 450. I'm not sure of the address. But the 400. Kauai High Street's a crescent between Palani on Oahu Highway and Hawaii Kai.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Elizabeth?
Thank you. I'm very familiar with what you're referring to, and I think it's terrible. Is it possible for you to take a photograph and share that with Chair Mayor? Because I think it'll help in future conversations for you to take a photograph of that and share it with her. I think it would help the board in maybe seeing about moving forward and encouraging the council to do something. I also want to mention on Kauai High Street, you have the Ivy, which is a senior citizen facility. And, you know, you have ambulances that need to go there frequently. So,
Fire truck.
and fire trucks. And so I'm very familiar with what you're referring to, and it's needs to get handled. I agree.
If you send me a picture, Julian, I will forward it to HPD.
Okay, I can be happy to send you a picture of the license plate, which would also show whether it's registered or currently registered, as well as the context of the situation.
All right. Paige, go ahead.
I'm a little confused about this because I would think that the laws regarding these kinds of trucks and carriers and things is the same on Kauai High Street than it would be on Hawaii Kai Drive.
You're not confused.
Okay, so I'm correct in that. Okay, so I guess my question would have been for HPD as to why they're not doing anything about this. Because if the laws are the same, this wouldn't be happening if this was on Hawaii Kai Drive. They've addressed this kind of issue on Hawaii Kai Drive many times over the years. I mean, so has anybody told you why it's not being addressed? Is there a specific reason why HPD is not ticketing or towing, or is a reason been given?
I have called, well, you're asking me to respond as what the police department, understands and what they would do.
No, but you called 911, right? I mean, they've been called regarding this issue.
I've called the District 7 policing, community policing.
911. No, I'm asking if 911 has been called.
I haven't called 911.
Okay, so this is my thing, is that if 911 is called and the police come out, and this is an emergent situation, which I believe this to be, because I've driven that road, I've seen this issue, especially with the Ivy there, and especially with the kind of emergency traffic that's there, which brings in the Honolulu Fire Department. I would ask the police officer, you're coming out, I'll meet you at the site. Why isn't something be done about this? And I would get an answer from that HPD officer immediately. I would get an answer from him. And if he says, well, it's legal, or well, blah, 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 or whatever, I would want to know why isn't HPD doing something about it? Because if you're going through 311, that avenue isn't working. It's not working. Nothing's happening. So, and I know that this kind of issue has been addressed on Hawaii Kai Drive. So I don't know. That's what I would do if it was my street. And I can tell you, I've done stuff on Portlock. I'm not attacking him at all. I'm not attacking him.
All right. We're going to,
Okay, well,
thank
need to do
you.
your own
We're going to be
business,
moving
okay?
on. Any,
It is a
Okay.
suggestion because
all right.
From the daughter of a drug.
Yes. Thank you. I'm just saying what you're doing isn't working. So if it was me and I've done this on Portlock, call 911. Do it. Just
All right. Comment from Greg and then Herb.
I would think if we take this up as a board, it's not just limited to that street, that we should maybe consider our whole district. Because there's been a proliferation of boats and commercial vehicles illegally parked. So it's kind of hard to just kind of report your neighbor or something like that. But I think maybe as a whole community, we can address that and ask for a little better enforcement. And maybe even the Hawai'i Marina Association trying to find some solutions. Some of these, the boats in particular, need spaces off the street in order to be stored. There's the one place across from Costco, but I don't know if there are vacancies. Maybe there are some other sites that can be identified. But yeah, there's one street right by my house where I can barely get through in my Honda Civic. And there are, boat trailers on both sides. And it's just a little narrow connecting street. So I'm sure a rescue vehicle could not get through there.
It is a larger issue. There's plenty of commercial vehicles that are parked on other places. I'm a resident of Kauai High Street, so I'm bringing that to your attention. I'll fulfill that request, and if the board would choose to take this up as a larger issue, so be it.
Thank you.
Herb?
Hi, Julian.
Long time.
Yep. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. It has been brought before us. Sad to hear that nothing has really happened to it. And I would encourage that we throw it on a agenda covering all the boats and the commercial vehicles and stuff. And then we would like HPD here. And we do know that they're not very well manned, but they still got a job to do.
Sam?
Thank you for bringing this up again. I think a lot of the issue has to deal with the tow contracts for these larger vehicles because HPD can come out and cite the vehicle, but they don't have the capabilities of towing it. So I think it falls upon, I think it's DCS, Customer Services, that handles the tow contracts with the city. They can do it for the regular vehicles, but they don't have the capacity for these larger vehicles. So it'll be helpful to have HPD in this discussion, but I think council chair and the mayor's rep need to be involved in this as well, so we can beef up the towing capacity for the larger vehicles.
That's why I brought up those three potential solutions and the towing contract. That's, so they say that door is locked from the inside and you can get out anytime you want. That's why whenever the contract is up for renewal, rewrite it so it would address dealing with larger issues. And so anyone who bids on that would have to provide, support for larger vehicles being towed.
And one more thing.
Yes, sir.
And the other thing is they can tag it every single day and, like you say, bankrupt them until they move it. So we can solve that with HPD, the city, and all that. But thanks again.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Julian. All right. We're going to be moving on to our presentations. And we have one presentation this evening. It's information on the early eviction mediation program. And our presenter is Roberta Hickey Gomez, who is the program manager of the early eviction mediation program from Mediation Center of the Pacific. Thank you very much for being here with us tonight, Roberta.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the board. Thank you to the community. I believe I provided a presentation. If we can load it up, that'd be great. So as I said before, I am here for the early eviction mediation program. It's part of the Mediation Center of the Pacific's Oh, I think you need to share screen.
The issue right now is we can see it, but the people online can't see it. So 1 second.
Thank you so much, Jeff. So apart from the early eviction mediation program, we also represent the community in a variety of issues. People may be familiar with the mediation center. We deal with landlord-tenant issues. We deal with domestic issues, divorce, et cetera. We also have our Kapunapono program, which deals with elder care and family conferencing issues around that. So if anyone is interested in hearing more about any of those programs, we're happy to present on that in the future. And are we good to go? Excellent. Okay. Next slide. So a little bit of background on the early eviction mediation program. This is coming out of Act 57, which is part of the COVID eviction moratorium. And this was a program that required people to go into mediation if there was any issue that would lead to eviction. And it was also paired with some form of rental assistance. Our initial target was about 6,000 tenants who were in arrears on Oahu. We mediated 1,300 out of 3,050 cases. We had an 85% agreement rate. We kept 90% of tenants in their homes. Next slide. And then the program expired in August of 2022. The Mediation Center moved forward in the program. We moved forward with independent contractors. And then we also had limited private funds that we had issued as the program grew and we got more funding in place and we grew an understanding as to how to operate in this newer space. We were able to provide independent contractors who are specific to landlord-tenant issues. We began to mediate over Zoom exclusively and offer this program to a wide variety of the community. Next slide. What's nice about the EM program is that it's a neutrally beneficial program. It benefits both landlords and tenants. So on the landlord side, we know that it reduces time spent recovering rents in arrears, and that can be anywhere from 1 to 4 months, and that's not including the time spent beforehand trying to collect rent in arrears. We know that it saves landlords money on average anywhere between $500 and $10,000. We also know that agreements foster better relationships between landlords and tenants, so we know that housing can be left in better conditions when they vacate or when they move on to new housing, and that when breakdowns happen, as is the case in anything, if there is such, then we know that post-mediation, that agreement can be taken to the courts to move forward the issue, knowing that landlords and tenants have operated in good faith and were unable to resolve. Next slide. And as a neutral program, it also benefits tenants. There's greater housing stability and predictability, and that's whether tenants remain in the home or whether there's a reasonable move-out date to be able to provide tenants with that, which we know in a high cost of living situation as we have in Hawaii, that can be quite difficult to be able to determine what makes sense. And then agreements between landlords and tenants provide, again, a greater ease in housing relationships, fewer evictions on record for tenants, which can stigmatize and impact them, including future housing decisions, being able to purchase homes, and the possibility of being booted from Section 8 programs, which can be catastrophic. So overall, it contributes to greater community stability. Next slide. So as our program has progressed over this fiscal year, we take up about 30% of the landlord-tenant issues that come to us. So the remainder comes from district court in terms of eviction proceedings. That's grown about 20% from last fiscal year. Our agreement rate is about 90 to 93%. So it fluctuates and varies, but it's in the high 90s. And since Q1, we had a 60% increase in EM cases. Next slide. So just a brief on how the EM program works. It provides landlords and tenants with the opportunity to talk with the help of an impartial mediator. It occurs exclusively over Zoom. If English is not a participant's primary language, we provide an interpreter. As I said, meetings are held remotely through Zoom. If someone doesn't have internet access, we'll provide internet access in our office and assistance to be able to navigate that. Before the mediation, we require an electronic agreement to be signed, and this confidentiality agreement is standard process for a mediation center. Each mediation session is about an hour and a half long and is scheduled in a day and time that works for parties. If you reach an agreement, the mediator is going to put that agreement together and it will be signed electronically and submitted to both parties. Next slide. For scheduling, we know that cases can be scheduled within a 48-hour period if we're able to reach both parties. And then typically cases are resolved in a 3 to 5 business day window, which differs drastically when you look at what eviction court proceedings take. Next slide. As part of the program, we've been developing and expanding how we serve clients. One of the things that we've come up with is a eviction calculator. And this allows landlords to be able to assess exactly, because as I mentioned before, evictions can cost anywhere between 500 and 10,000, and that figure can be quite ambiguous. So this allows you to put in your information as to what your rental size is, how many units you have, cost of litigation, cost of filing, et cetera. Next slide. And what it gives you is a real-time estimate of what this eviction will cost you. So you can have a real-time assessment of what moving forward in an eviction would cost versus trying to resolve and come up with a plan here and there. Next slide. And as I said, we're a neutral program, so we're also developing tools on the tenant side. This is a budget calculator. We've partnered with Hawaiian Community Assets to provide a budget counseling and financial services to tenants. So tenants are referred out for financial services if they need it or require it. And then we also offer this budget calculator with our mediators as a tool that they can use to help tenants to be able to assess, is this a fiscal viably apartment for them or housing location, as well as to be able to determine if they're able to make these payment plans, because we want to make sustainable solutions for these parties. Next slide. So this will also give them a real-time determinant of exactly where they are in their finances. Next slide. We've also been moving forward with legislation. We've had legislation go through both House and Senate. We were really excited about this relating to eviction mediation. We're right now waiting on governor's signature. This will allow for a period in which landlords and tenants have to schedule mediation to move forward. You can read more about it using the QR code there if anyone is interested. Next slide. We've also been working on our tenant Kukua hubs. With this process has been working with community organizations and bringing together agencies that community people constantly turn to for services, being able to have that kind of outreach and connection to the community. So we're reaching out to these community organizations and training them in what eviction is, how you can spot people who may need mediation services for eviction, as well as providing support for technology assistance, a space for mediation if they need it, for hybrid mediations. So we've been working with HCA, Family Promise. We're also developing with Kalihi Palama and Waikiki Community Center. So we're trying to spread this access to all community orgs throughout Oahu. Next slide. If anyone is interested in EM requests, we have a QR code here. You can also go to our website, click contact us, schedule a mediation, and request a mediation. Click the blue button and you'll be taken to next slide. A mediation request form. It will ask you for the details of your contact information, the other party's contact information, and just a brief description of the issues that you're facing. I am open to any questions that anyone may have.
Questions for the early eviction mediation process? Roberta, are there areas of the island where your services are called for more than at others?
So I don't have off the top of my head specific zip codes. We do receive a lot of cases in town. So like throughout just basically the general urban population of Honolulu. And, you know, there's a variety of different cases we'll receive, but we do receive cases throughout Oahu, and we're trying to expand what we offer in terms of the community that we serve.
And I'm wondering, are there more tenants that request your services or more landlords?
So we have a variety of tenants who request our services, but we have a growing number of landlords and property managers. We also have repeat property managers who will have multiple properties, multiple buildings that they manage, and they'll come to us knowing that we achieve solutions for them, that we're there to work with them neutrally and try and come up with something that's beneficial for all parties.
Okay, Greg?
Just to put a focus on Roberta's question, any here in Hawaii Kai?
I don't have specific numbers as to Hawaii Kai, but I can provide them if anyone is interested. I can do a zip code breakdown and then offer that to the board in an email so you guys can review that if you'd like.
It would be interesting data.
Sure.
Paige?
How did this come about? I mean, what sparked the need for this entity?
Sure. So this again came out of the Act 57 program. So part of that was requiring people to enter into mediation prior to moving forward with eviction. It was paired with rental assistance. And what we noticed is that there was a benefit to having those relationships repaired and mended between landlords and tenants. And that particular aspect has been quite successful. As we saw, the numbers were about 80% with rental assistance, and we're still around 90% right now without rental assistance. And we still partner with the community to connect people to rental resources with financial assistance resources, budgeting resources. So we do try and provide people with tools that they need to empower themselves and get to a better place and solution.
And are you connected with any state or city entity, office, or it says the Mediation Center of the Pacific? So are you guys connected with any state or city entity at all? You're just a independent lone wolf kind of
We're standalone nonprofit.
nonprofit? Okay, thank you so much.
Of course. And just to mention, if I hadn't before, the program's completely free. It's completely free for tenants. It's completely free for landlords. It's neutral and is really there to help promote housing stability and really build relationships in the community.
Elizabeth?
I just wanted to commend you for figuring out how to sustain the service that you're providing beyond the act and the expiration date of it. It's really commendable.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments, board members, members of the audience? Well, thank you very much, Roberta, for joining us tonight. Very interesting program. I want to make sure that my property manager is aware of it.
Excellent.
All
All
right,
right.
thank
Well, you
you.
have a wonderful evening.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again so much.
Thank you so much. All right, we're moving on to our officials' reports. Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative, Amy Asselby. Thank you for joining us tonight, Amy.
Hello, thank you. I'm Amy Asselby, the mayor's representative for the Hawaii County Neighborhood Board. So it's nice to see everyone tonight again. I just have a few responses. I still haven't got a clarification from the our emergency services division about where ambulances take people here. And I think it was your question, Paige, about do they go directly to Castle Hospital? So hopefully that will be continued and I'll have a good response for you next month. Two other carryover questions were with regard to the potential bus route reinstatement around Niu Valley Middle School. This is not really an update. I think it's kind of what we heard before, which is that, you know, when DTS did provide dedicated bus service to Niu Valley Middle School, it was terminated in 2006 due to extreme unruly student behavior. But since 2008, federal regulations prohibit recipients of federal grant funds from operating dedicated school bus service. So I guess their point is that they cannot provide direct bus service to schools, and rather the schools do that themselves. They go on to state, you know, there's crosswalks, et cetera. There's bus stops along Kalaniana Ole. But generally it's what we heard before. No further explanation. The next carryover was from a request to get some help with bus stop maintenance across from Pico Drive on Kalaniana Ole. And DTS says they submitted a request. So DTS, sorry, Department of Transportation Services. So they submitted a request for a trash receptacle to be installed at the bus stop at Kalaniana Ole Highway and Pico Drive. And the Department of Facilities Maintenance staff confirmed to DTS that a trash receptacle was installed at the bus stop on March 16th. So I hope that helps to resolve some of the trash issues at that bus stop. Okay, the next was a new question from last week about loose utility covers, and there were a number of places noted: Mariners Cove, Kalama Valley, Cocoa Head Terrace, and near the Oahu Club. So while there is concern, that, there could be an injury from people stumbling on those utility covers that need to be repaired, the easiest way to get it addressed is to look at what the utility is. They are responsible for maintaining those covers, and to contact the utility directly. The roundabout way to do that is to reach out to DPP, and they said they would need the address, a description of the box, and then a DPP inspector submits an email or utility fax to the utility company. So it's probably easier if there are issues with those utility covers, just to, see who it belongs to and reach out to them directly. Okay, this is a long one, and this was a question about disaster preparedness from the Department of Emergency Management. So feel free to cut me off if needed. So the question was about, are there plans for communities to follow in disasters? So the Department of Emergency Management says the city develops all hazard plans intended to be used across all types of emergencies, and they address how the city agencies and key nonprofits and private sectors will coordinate during an event. Part of that coordination is the opening of the city's Emergency Operations Center, where key agencies involved in the response and recovery efforts will come together, share information, and prioritize and allocate resources based on the current priorities. The Emergency Operations Center is the location where the city officials gather information and evaluate response and recovery needs across all impacted communities. When resources are constrained or insufficient, the city's Emergency Operations Center works with the state to request additional resources through the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. Moving on. Because disasters are so dynamic and any combination of communities could be impacted, the city plans are not done for each specific community. Rather, we look at issues island-wide. During that planning process, the city looks at possible impacts, resources, and potential needs of the communities. So during a real-world event, the city scales those plans to focus on the community impacted. Here are a couple of examples. When the city does shelter planning, we start with the assumption that there will be island-wide need, and we make sure to have facilities identified in all communities. If resources are constrained to operate shelters, we look at what the priority facilities would be across the island to open first in each geographic area. In a real-world event, if shelters were only needed in a certain area, we would adjust those citywide plans to focus resources on only communities affected. The city relies on partnerships with many voluntary and nonprofit agencies during disasters. In turn, many of those nonprofit agencies rely on community members, those volunteers that use their time so the nonprofits can provide support across the island. For example, the city works with the food bank and its network of many local community partners to coordinate disaster feeding programs. The city also works with the Humane Society on issues regarding pets in disasters. We also work with the Red Cross to help staff our shelters. Those agencies are actively involved in the citywide planning to help inform the city about what resources they have and where, including volunteers and programs and partnerships, can be leveraged during disasters. I'm almost done. A list of nonprofits who help coordinate disaster relief is available at the Hawaii Voluntary Organizations Active in Disasters website. So that's Hawaii State VOAD, VOAD.org. Hawaii State VOAD.org. Their community members interested in supporting disaster planning and response are encouraged to get involved locally with organizations in this partner network. The city relies on these partners to help inform plans and provide resources in communities across the island. Pretty long, but that is the thesis, the essay. I have a couple more, 5 more to be exact. Should go on. Okay. Vacant funds usage. There was a question about what is the vacancy shortfall in the city? Will those vacancy funds be applied to the new proposed sewer charges? I think that proposal is off the table at the city council right now. If someone from Chair Waters' office is on the call after that, you could check with him directly. But right now, the Department of Human Resources says, or not right now, as of March 16th, 15th, 2025, there were 2,214 vacancies of city civil service positions. This excludes exempt and deactivated positions. So we have a lot of vacant positions. There was also a number of questions about the Vahipana project, and tonight you may be aware that they are kicking off the opening of the project at Hanauma Bay Beach Park. They're having a big event up there, but there was a very long letter, again, sent to Lisa Bishop from the Deputy Managing Director about all of the outreach that was conducted, which started back in November of 2024 up until today. And so I can share that with the chair if you'd like to see kind of a recitation of how this project has evolved and all of the different media and other resources that have been provided to alert the community about what's happening and the process and the people that were involved in the selection of the installations, artists, and sites.
Amy, I'm not sure you want to wait till the end to take questions, but Elizabeth had her hand up, I think.
Sure.
So go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I just have to comment that the mere fact that they're holding that in Hanauma Bay on the night that it's the Hawai'i Neighborhood Board is an indication of how flawed their outreach is. I just want to share that with you because we learned about it last month only.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in seeing what they say they did from an outreach standpoint so that other communities don't have to go through what we went through. We would have taken a lot of pride in this project.
Yeah, I would think most people here would want to be there tonight. I wanted to be there.
Yeah,
but
so, thank you.
cannot. So I will share this with you because I think it is pretty extensive. What I can see is not a lot of it is directed at the specific communities where the installations were going in. Rather, it was more general, but there's a lot of it. Again, I think the other point that the deputy manager was trying to make is we stand corrected, and for the third round of the opening of the installations, they intend to do better. They will get the message out to the neighborhood boards in a much more timely manner, and concern heard.
Thank you.
And we'll hope to address it better going forward.
Do you want to mention that a couple of years ago, when the artists and the team met with an area cultural practitioner from Manalua.net, she distinctly said, please go to the neighborhood board meeting. And it lost support, and I'm sorry to say, through parks, because they inquired about the neighborhood board, and that's where the break occurred. And that's where the team from the art division lost direction.
Mayor's Office on Culture.
Yes, they were guided strongly by parks. And I don't know whether it's the district person or they were just looking at it from a larger standpoint.
Mhm.
But that's what we identified the break was, misguided from the district park, or then at a higher level, not positive. But just thought I'd share that with you.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. I can take that back also.
Did you want to continue with your report or are you
Sure,
completed?
I have a couple more.
Okay.
If you're willing to. Sorry. Okay, let's see here. Pet-friendly parks. This is a question about, will there be any enforcement of areas where dogs are off limits at our city parks? DPR responded that says they do not have the enforcement powers. They rely on HPD for enforcement of all illegal activities within parks. While DPR tries to monitor areas and provide education to park users if they're not compliant, the enforcement rests with HPD. I hope that's helpful. Cocoa Crater Stables. I think we're going to love this one. DPR, funding for the Botanical Garden parking lot is a separate CIP project line item and is not connected to any funding dedicated to the independently operated stable concession property. And then they say, please refer to the questions regarding the stables improvement plans and timeline status to the Department of Design and Construction. So the Department of Design and Construction responded that they're just right now still in the process and working with the Department of Enterprise Services, who manages the concessions, on the possible options for the use of funds that they have. There are no immediate plans for stable improvements at this time. The comfort station and the parking lot are planned for the Botanical Garden using FY28 funds. So we will be going into FY26 starting in July. So it sounds like 2 years from now, they're still working on the planning for the Botanical Gardens for the big projects. So I know this was.
Okay,
10
so Amy, we're not sure any of the funds that were allocated for the stables have ever been released, number one.
Correct, yeah.
Number two, we're not sure whether the contract for the vendor has actually been established and
The concessions?
for the concessionaire. I think it was, the last I had heard, it was a month-to-month kind of arrangement. So we want to know what the status of the contract is.
Okay.
And we also are concerned about when the condemned buildings are going to be demolished.
Right.
And I think Herb has some other comments as well.
So it sounds like the response on the timeline is that there are no immediate plans for stable improvements at this time. But we had received other reports from the managing director's office that they were working on those, to get those buildings demolished. So I'm sorry to say that this is not an improvement or clear.
Could you follow up on
I
that?
follow.
Because it's contradicting information.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I'm sorry. I just received some of this information, unfortunately.
Okay, so Herb and then Greg.
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
That'd be nice. It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
Aloha Riding Lessons has paid out a lot of money to fix up. I went there for the first time in months, and they painted their stalls. They added a new thing, but their biggest concern is when we had that really big windstorm last time, the buildings and the roofs were flying all over the place because it swirls there. So that's their number one issue.
That's from the buildings that
and
you
we-
think need to be demolished.
Yeah, and it's already been identified, it's already been looked at by the city. So my question is, why isn't it done? So it's kind of,
It's discouraging.
it's ahead, yeah, it's 3 years. 3 years. And this, I don't care whatever else happens. I think that place needs to be put back together so that everything can move forward. That's, the vendor can't do everything because of the parent contract issue, but we've been told there was $400,000 to 250,000. Last month it was 350,000. Where is that money? Why isn't it being done? 3 years. 3 years. And I went there. They've done a good job with what they have, but they need the city to step in so that they can move on, make their money. That's the second thing. The sidewalk covers and stuff. I actually fell on one in front of my in-laws' house. And yeah, you got to look at it. It's Hiko or it's Hawaiian Tel or whatever. I forget which one it was, but I took pictures and I sent it in. It was actually fixed in like 3 days. So if anybody, wants to follow up with that, you just got to do it. It's a hazard. They should fix it. And as far as the parking lot and the botanical gardens and stuff, we don't just want to know about Cocoa Head Crater Stables. We want to know about the botanical gardens. We would like to. We would like to hear about Hanama Bay. I'm the Parks and Rec guy, and I'd like to know what's going on behind the scenes and not be told, 1 month in advance of a really nice celebration we could be at right now. So thank you. That's why aren't we moving on? Thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, you mentioned that you didn't think that the Chair Waters was still talking about using vacancies. Well, his newsletter distributed today made that sound like it was still active, that there's some current bill.
Believe the executive, I don't want to speak out of
Okay,
turn. If
and
Amanda's or
my
whoever,
impression.
it's not Amanda anymore, it's on the call. But there is a committee hearing tomorrow, Executive Management Committee, that is hearing this issue and discussing it again for the use of the TAT.
Okay, and on
Yes.
the art exhibitions,
Mhm.
I spoke to someone from the Mayor's Office of Culture and the Arts a couple of days ago.
Mhm.
And before she knew I was on neighborhood board, she was still saying, oh yeah, they learned something along the way and kind of recognized they hadn't included some community members. So, and then I chimed in, yes, I was well aware of that, with Lisa
Yes.
Bishop and the friends. So, yeah, we further discussed it, but at least there was like a forthcoming acknowledgement that they had skipped a few crucial steps.
Right.
But anyway, there was that. And also with the stables, it sounds like, I can't recall where I've recently read it, but it seemed like they are moving ahead. There are contradictions, that
There
there
are.
was some plan to make a new access, which seems to me they could do in an afternoon with the bulldozer and just kind of plow a little driveway through the fence there. But from the vantage point right outside the stables, you can see the dilapidated buildings. And it's just, it's so unrealistic to expect the vendor to be responsible for the mess that was left behind. Part of the mess that was deliberately created by the previous concessionaire. So the city, it's still city property.
Mhm.
And why wouldn't they work to maintain it so that they could turn it over in good shape to the concessionaires? So anyway, I just think that there is certainly much more to be done, and reinforce everything that's been said on that, because it's just crazy how long it's been delayed.
Paige?
Got it.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for your detailed report. It answered a lot of questions. It did, but I have a few things. First off, sometimes I feel really bad for you because you come to these meetings and you give us a lot of apologies. Mayor's really sorry, DPR is really sorry, DTS is really sorry. They didn't talk to you. They didn't come here. They didn't do this. They didn't show you plans. And, it's kind of at a point where we're tired of the apologies. we're just us. We're very open-minded. We're always willing to have somebody come and talk to us and present whatever it is. And I don't think we're not going to blow anybody out. We're not, the West Side where we need, enforcement at our meetings. I think it's just common courtesy, which seems to have gotten by the wayside in a lot of avenues of life right now, that the neighborhood board, we care. The reason that we are all at this table is because we care so much about this district. And that's everything from the stables to the sewer covers to, everything. So when I hear something like Herb is saying that the sewer cover he tripped on was fixed in 3 days or something like that, and I'm looking at a severe safety and liability issue at the stables, if those roofs and those boards start flying around in the next storm, and I've been there during a storm, the wind it's like a tornado in there. The wind swirls. And if that stuff starts hurting people or horses, or God forbid, not anything worse than that, but the city is looking at a liability issue, a severe liability issue, because they're the ones that condemned those buildings. And I think that Aloha Riding Lessons and this board and this district has been really patient for 3 years, waiting for the mayor to follow through with his own promises. These were his promises that he made. He has walked up to the owners of Aloha Riding Lessons and he has shown them on his phone, this is your money. Here's your money. I have $350,000 for you. My response would have been, here's my account number, but that's not what happened. So it could have been just $1 million. As long as they don't get it, it can be any amount in the world. But it would be really nice for the mayor to follow through with the promise to this district, to Aloha Riding Lessons. We all really care about that. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to mention is that along with that, everybody is saying there's no plans for a parking lot, there's no plans for improvement, there's no plans for a new entrance, and that's not true. The plans have been seen. And the people that had the plans that were sitting there taking measurements and looking at the gates and looking at the entrance to the parking lot and measuring the distances had plans that they were looking at. So somebody's got plans somewhere. So we don't need an apology that, no, we're not being consulted. We'd like to look at those plans. That is city property. That is Hawaii Kai community property. We'd like to know what's going on before the bulldozers come in there and go, oh yeah, we're sorry. We just decided to do this. We really don't want another apology on that one. That being said, I ditto everything everybody's talking about with this installation thing tonight. That's the reason Lisa Bishop isn't here, is because as the president of Friends of Anama Bay, she felt it was very important for her to be there at the installation. I would have liked to also have been there. On another note, the Portlock siren. I'm calling it the Portlock siren, but it's the siren that
State sirens.
state sirens.
Right.
But the siren that was supposed to be fixed, like March 10th or April 10th or whatever it is, not working.
Right.
So
That is one.
it sticks with me like a craw, because everybody said,
Yes.
well, it's there and it's supposed to be fixed, but it's not working. So again, we're looking at multi-million-dollar homes that are not going to be warned if there's an emergency. Another liability issue for the state or the city or whoever's listening. Let's get the siren fixed. I have a question about sidewalk improvement.
Okay, can we make this quick
Yeah,
page? Because I've got a
anything
couple.
else talk, Roberta.
No,
I'm
no,
moving
there's a
on.
couple other people
I
that also want
understand.
to.
I'm moving on to a different subject. So the city owns the sidewalks, correct, in front of homes? So I have a neighbor on my street who improved his driveway with tile all the way out to the curb, including the sidewalk. And I have neighbors that want to know if that's legal. I don't know if that's legal. And I don't know what department that is. He extended the walkway to his front door with tile, and it extended all the way out to the curb. Very weird. But anyway.
I'm not sure I can comprehend exactly what you're saying.
It's
What
walkway-
might be best would be to
Get a
take a
picture.
picture.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send
got
it and provide me an address, and then
Perfect.
DPP, I think, would be able to tell us
Perfect.
if
I
that's
can do that.
permitted.
Thank you.
Yep.
Also, I would like to know if it's possible to invite DPR, Roberta, to our meeting next month so that we could get a briefing on a story that ran in the Civil Beat regarding the Hanauma Bay Transportation Management Contract. There's a lot of issues with this contract. In the interest of time, I won't go into everything, but I will say that a couple of the issues that are foremost is that this management contract was supposed to go out as a contract. And my understanding is that it was initially supposed to go to bid, and it did not go to bid. It was actually brought before the DPR from Roberts, Hawaii, because they want to put a package deal together for the Japanese tourists. They're saying that Japanese tourists don't like to drive, they don't like to rent cars, they like to do tours, package tours. And this issue involves the contract person, Roberts Hawaii, I guess, to purchase 500 tickets, adult tickets a day for Hanauma Bay. And whether they resell those or not is irrelevant to Hanauma Bay. So my initial question is, it would be a package deal. I think they would do 250 tickets to the zoo and then do transportation, and they, bing, 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 sell a ticket for whatever amount, and they go to Hanauma Bay and the zoo, whatever. So, but my question is that the attendance to Hanauma Bay is limited to 1,400 people a day. The concern is that this 500 is within the 1,400 and not in addition to the 1,400. And I want to hear that, and I want that to be solidified, because the minute that starts going over, you're going to have a lot of issues outside. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is that
Paige, can you please try to cut it short? There are people that want to direct some questions.
Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that that the tour company, Roberts Hawaii in this case, cannot resell these tickets to another tour company. I want to know that that is another thing that is a concern, that they can't resell, that if Roberts Hawaii gets this contract, that it stays with Roberts Hawaii, that they are the only ones who are allowed to sell these packages. Whether or not they are able to sell that 500 or not is irrelevant. Let's see, there was one, I'm sorry, I'm reading this because I made notes so that I could speed through this. And then the educational outreach. This is really important because the educational outreach cannot be outsourced outside of Hanauma Bay. It's really important that Friends and that Hanauma Bay control the educational portion of what people are learning about Hanauma Bay, and that they're ensuring that the optics are shown so that the head of the line's privileges to tour companies, it's not like just because they bought a $100 ticket and includes the zoo and transportation that they go to the head of the line. That's a big deal. There are other issues, I think, that can be more succinctly put together, hopefully not by me, next month, if we can get somebody from DPR here to talk about this contract and why it was actually talked to at Civil Beat and in the media before Friends of Hanauma Bay was talked to about it. Again, another apology, or before they came to the Hawaii Kai neighborhood.
It was discussed with the Friends of
Yeah.
Bay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Greg has a question, and then Elizabeth.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Got it.
Okay, I'm sorry to add on another question, but didn't want to pile on too much, but the school bus for New Valley, I don't buy your explanation on that. I know it's not yours, but I don't think that should be accepted and passed on to us because, well, the other issue that came up, the need for a trash container at Pie Coast Drive, is just an indication that it's overflowing with intermediate school, middle school kids in the afternoon. So, I mean, these are kids piling up along Kalanianole Highway. and they're just not being addressed. But the idea about no federal funds and the city bus can't be used for that. Well, the city adds different routes during peak periods. There are buses that go to the university, express buses and such. We're not talking about replacing a school, but a dedicated school bus system. We're talking about just adding an afternoon route adjustment to pick up kids, or maybe in the morning a bit. That's within the bus system's capabilities without violating any federal provisions. So I would like to be on whatever that task force is, that's walk through whatever you just called it. Maybe Joe wants to be part of that. We can keep him involved, maybe beyond his tenure, because that's a very serious issue. And we're citing 2006. So I think it's time to not worry about some misbehaving kids 25 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right. Maybe it is best taken up with the Safe Routes to School Committee.
Yeah.
Because I think if I take this back, they're going to cite 49 CFR Part
No,
605.
but Amy, I want to echo what Greg is saying. That particular regulation is about dedicated bus routes, and we're not talking about dedicated bus routes. We would like
I understand.
bus adjustment or, because it will benefit the entire community rather than have the bus go straight down Kalanano Ole Highway. It could make a detour through the neighborhood.
Yes.
So, right.
Yep. Understood.
Okay. Elizabeth, you had a comment or question?
Just a separate question. I'm having a hard time get a contact for Spectrum. On our Kaiwi Mauka land, Spectrum came and installed cables without permission. We have no easement with them. We checked with HECO. They have no agreement with them, and they have an open box with fiber optic cables exposed. And we run hikes for the community, and it's a huge hazard. I'm sorry and embarrassed to say that it's been about 4 months in trying to contact somebody from Spectrum. I actually went to Action Line, and they're equally frustrated. There doesn't seem to be any local person other than field people in trucks. So if you have any contact for Spectrum that I can talk to about installation of cables on our land that they have no permission, plus the hazard of having it open, I'd greatly appreciate it. This is in Kalama Valley area, the hiking
Can I
area.
ask?
Sure.
When were the cables installed? Because
Yeah, so they have been there for about over a year or more, but we found it almost 6 months ago when we started clearing and doing native planting, and it's in a very public area. When we called HECO and they came out and they looked at it, because HECO has a box right next to it, that location, HECO went ahead and immediately cleaned up their area, which was great, and put a new cover on theirs. But yeah, confirm that they have absolutely no arrangement with Spectrum. So
and right now the cables are exposed
they're
and
open, exposed, and it's a big open pit that they have it in.
okay.
Yeah. But you don't, I mean, all I need is a contact.
Yeah.
Somebody locally, other than if I've stopped and I've had field guys go out there and look at it and, they're sorry, there's nothing they can do. They try and it stops. Nothing ever gets done. Thank you.
Right. Yep.
Okay, Amy, have you covered all of the elements of your report?
Not exactly, but Camilo Iki Park has come up. So I know you folks talk to HPD. It's primarily an HPD response. And I don't think I heard this specifically from the captain. So I'll just share that with regard to what's happening at Camilo Iki Park, District 7 officers conduct regular checks of the Camilo Iki Community Park and are frequently dispatched to the area in response to reports of park rules violations. Several citations have been issued in the past year and one arrest was effected. I don't think maybe he had those statistics at his fingertips, but it says over the past 21 days, 4 service calls have been made regarding the park and the adjacent intersection. Officers will continue routine patrols, and the public is strongly encouraged to call 911 at the time they observe illegal or suspicious activity occurring so that those issues can be promptly addressed.
Could you also follow up to find out whether the restrooms can be locked up when park staff leave the park?
So the answer to that is no. Because the park does not have closure hours, they're generally proposed, as I think you all know, through the neighborhood board, through resolution, which is then sent to the city council, adopted and sent to DPR. So it says, at this time, we are unable to close and lock the restrooms. DPR has a limited budget for hiring a security guard company and will need to adjust the current schedule to add KCP to the list for locking gates. The schedules with the security guard company can be adjusted on a quarterly basis. So right now, I think the answer is no, but
so there'd have to
in
be
the future-
closure hours in order for the restrooms to be locked.
and closed. That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Paige?
Yes.
I'm confused about that because at Mauna Lua Beach Park, that does not have closure hours, but those bathrooms are closed. So how does that work? It's like the rules for that don't apply to Camilo Iki.
I thought Mauna Lua Beach Park did have closure hours. Didn't you?
No,
guys?
Joe Lucella has closure
Joe
hours,
Lucella.
but not Mauna Lua Beach Park. So now we're looking at another double standard. Okay, so
I don't know that. it's
so
double
they're
standard.
saying,
Maybe
so
a
just
misunderstanding.
just so I understand, unless that the bathrooms in a park, in any park, anywhere, apparently, cannot be closed or locked unless that park literally is closed for whatever, 10 to 5 or for whatever. Unless the park is closed, the bathrooms can't be. Is that what you're saying?
I can't tell from the way this is written, to be honest. I mean, it says Camilo Iki Community Park. This is only a response with regard to Camilo Iki Community
Yeah.
Park. It does, is the area, so the question was, can the area be locked down to prevent after-hour activities on the premises? Could the bathrooms be closed and locked when the park closes? That was the question. And their response was Camilo Iki Community Park does not have park closure hours. Requests for park closure hours.
Yeah.
Blah, as I said, at this time, DPR is unable to close and lock the restrooms. And it sounds like the reason why is that DPR has a limited budget for hiring a security guard company and will need to adjust the current schedule to add KCP to the list for locking gates. The schedules with the security guard company can be adjusted on a quarterly basis. So the way I'm understanding this is that they could, if they can get the security guards to, if they can change their schedule in the next quarter, then they could come and close and lock those restrooms.
Could we maybe ask to have the guy who locks the bathrooms down at Mauna Lua Bay go over to Camilo Iki and close those
That,
up
I think
too?
that's what they're saying,
Oh,
is that there's a schedule
Okay.
for the security guards.
okay.
All right, we can discuss this a little bit further when this issue comes up. Now, I'm going to have to ask the board members to move along more speedily because we have a lot to cover in our remaining 40 minutes or 50 minutes.
I have.
You have
Yes.
anything?
Nope,
That was it?
I think I've covered illegal fireworks activities. Please report to the HPK.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Amy. That was a very comprehensive report. And
I'll work on these questions and we'll try to get some good responses back, and particularly on Cocoa Crater and the Hanelma commercial transportation contract.
okay, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anybody from Council Chair Tommy Waters' office? Adam Gu had indicated earlier that he was not able to attend tonight, so I don't think that we're going to have a report from the City Council Chair's office. Okay. Governor Josh Green's representative, Cameron Black.
Good evening, Chair, board members, members of the community. Cameron Black on behalf of the Governor's Office. I work at the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, the Hawaii State Energy Office. First, two things I heard tonight, the burnout car, Kaiwi Coast. I heard DLNR come up, so that could be something that we can take back to check with DLNR on the status of that. The burned out car at Kaiwi Coast. The second thing I heard is the port lock siren, which sounded like that was a state jurisdiction issue, so I can see what we can find out about that as well. So those are the two things I heard tonight under the state jurisdiction that we can take back. Another thing regarding the Hawaiian Electric wildfire safety strategy, you can also find a lot of information on the PUC's website. They have an open docket for this. The docket number is 2025-0156. Hawaiian Electric held a few public meetings at the end of April on this strategy, and the presentations can be found on the PUC's website if you care to take a look at the presentations they did previously to give some background and some homework in advance. So in addition to the plan being on Hawaiian Electric's website, the PUC's website in that docket has a lot of information on the strategy that you folks are going to hear about next week. Excuse me, next month. The last two remaining items I have from the last meeting, number one, the street parking along Hawaii Kai Drive by the plaza. We heard back from DOT. They recommended contacting HPD regarding enforcement, and I know that's come up a few times in the meeting tonight. There is the revised ordinances of Honolulu, as you folks may be aware, that requires at least 4 feet from the driveway between the next parked car. So that is the ordinance and the minimum distance it has to be from the driveway, 4 feet per the ordinance. So that's what we got back on that issue. The last issue I have for you folks brought up by the secretary at the last meeting are the metal beams by the boat ramp in Huinalu Boathouse. And from Department of Land and Natural Resources Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation, supplies are being staged for the Maunalua Bay Dredging and Revetment Improvement Project, which will help replenish the eroded shoreline in front of the Huinalu Boathouse and deepen the channel through the bay. The large metal sheet piles will be used to contain the dredge material to fill the eroded areas by the boathouse and adjacent beach next to the boat ramp. So that's where a lot of those broken concrete pillars are located, if you folks may have seen. So they're going to use those piles to fill in that area. The fill will come from the channel. The metal pillars will be covered by concrete to be level with the boat ramp when the work is done. DOBAR anticipates receiving final permits in June. The work should begin in July or August, and it's expected to take 9 to 12 months. So those are the updates that I have on behalf of the state. Yes. Questions?
Okay, Herb, Elizabeth, and Paige.
Thank you for coming, Cameron. Our late great Rep Ward was looking at the project at Calvary by the Sea. They give out food once or twice a week, and they block that roadway. And the last time I went by, they actually were waiting before it to open, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I know that's probably an enforcement issue, but it also could be a state issue to go there and at least meet with them and decide. Maybe it's better if they come from the right, from town into there instead of going past it, turning into, coming out that light and then just jamming the traffic right there. It's just, somebody should go there and work with it. That's just my suggestion, because it is a bummer, because you never know when they're doing it. And then you're on your way to an appointment or stuff. So that to me is Calvary by the Sea, Angel Network, I think it is. And they're the ones that are giving out free food, which is great. But on that highway is not a good idea. Thank you.
My questions think about the Kaiwi Channel and how this board took a position to protect the Kaiwi Channel from ocean energy. And so even though there's no movement in that area at this time, think it's important to continue to talk about it. So my question for you, if I may, is last I remembered, HECO was going to be compelled to put out an RFP for ocean energy as part of their alternative energy program or mandate that they have to hit to support the state's goal. If not tonight, could you at the next meeting share? Because we want to stay vigilant and continue to work towards protecting the Kaiwi Coast from ocean energy. Have you heard anything from Alkahi, I believe? Do you know anything that's happening with them or?
No, I haven't heard much really since the administration changeover. Regarding the RFP, Hawaiian Electric and other stakeholders are working on developing an RFP that would encompass projects that take a lot longer to develop. You know, maybe it's a new biofuel power plant or a new offshore wind or a new geothermal plant. So that is my understanding still being developed, which should happen and unfold through the PUC, but I can check and give you an update next month.
Appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
No problem.
Hi, Cameron.
Hey.
So thank you for looking into that siren. I think it was supposed to be March 10th or April 10th that it was supposed to be fixed, but I've asked I'm usually not home because I'm working across the street at 11 o'clock on that first working day. And this one's loud, but I should be able to hear that one and my neighbors should be able to hear that one. Nobody's hearing a thing. So if they're going to test it, I don't know how they test it. And they have to test it to see if it works. I mean, because but nobody's heard it for months. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
And there was something else, but I totally forgot. Right? If I remember, I'll thank you.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for yours.
Yes.
Yes, Greg?
Yes, you're welcome, Pete.
Just wanted to note that the pedestrian overpass over Ala Moana Boulevard opened at a cost of $18 million. And just kind of comes to mind comparisons with our very modest crosswalk going over to Cocoa Head Elementary, and the fact that a whole high school cannot even be open because the state couldn't afford to put up a crosswalk over on Maui. This is a Hawaii or Kai jurisdiction because a significant amount of money, 4 million, I think, of the 18 comes out of state funds. And the other 14 million also comes out of our pockets in federal funds, federal taxes. So I visited that site and it's pretty elaborate. It's a fantastic park, but it is so over-engineered, overbuilt, over-planned. I think it's just kind of crazy. So anyway, just to kind of put things into perspective, but particularly with respect to the schools, there's just no comparison.
Noted. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for the governor's representative? If not, thank you very much, Cameron. We appreciate your being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody from Senator Stanley Chang's office? Okay, Senator Chris Lee's office? Any updates on House District 18? All right. Oh, yes, Paige?
Cameron, quick question. Has the governor made a decision on Representative Ward's, well, the person who's taking his place, which I don't like to say that, but has the governor made a decision? He's announcing it by Friday.
I do not know.
Yes, you do your lawn.
I don't. I don't. Definitely on a need to know basis. If appropriate, I mean, if he's planning to make an announcement in 3 days, I'm not sure I can give you any information before then. But yeah, I really have no idea on that one. Sorry, Paige. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Any representative from Mark Hasham's office? Any congressional representation? All right, going on to board business. The update on Kaiwi Coast Scenic Byway. Yes. Elizabeth?
For Kaiwi, I was going to ask if we could please have the letter that you wrote to Don Chang about no name change sent to, I was counseled on this, sent to, I'll send you the address. It goes to the Board of Land and Natural Resources, the very entity that would take up the issue of a name change. So in fact, Kurt Cottrell from DLNR never saw that letter. So may I send you a couple of email addresses for us to resend the letter to?
Certainly.
The timing would be good now, from what I understand.
Okay, so the letter that we sent to Don Chang, Chair of the Board of Land and Natural Resources, you want resent?
Resend to Kurt Cottrell.
Okay.
And then there's some additional parties to copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can do that.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Update on Camilo Nui Valley agriculture. I see Judy Nii in the audience. Judy, come on up. Let us know what's going on. Also, while Judy's coming up, I wanted to reiterate, Todd Gray told me that during Marissa Harmon's presentation, the last time Kamehameha Schools was here, that she had indicated that Kamehameha Schools' intent was to keep the valley in agriculture. So I wasn't sure that it registered with everybody, but that was evidently their intent. So Judy, if you have.
That's my impression too.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
So they're renegotiating leases with those who want to stay and things like that.
Yeah, what happened was last week, we received certified letters from Kamehameha Schools telling us that the leases end at the end of June of this year. And for those of us who want to stay, they gave us a list of requirements that we have to fulfill. And a lot of us, and myself included, you know, we haven't really kept up with the upkeep of our land. So we're supposed to clear all these things up. But still, the uncertainty, they had told us that we could stay for maybe a year. But after that, stay there for a year at the lease rent we pay now. But after that, they couldn't promise us anything. And, you know, Marissa says, yeah, they want to keep it in ag. But at the meeting we had with her, she explained that, you know, that some of the farmers had the impression that Kamehameha Schools was going to give them longer leases, but she said, no, I'm sorry if you gave that, we gave that impression, or that's what you believe, that's not what's going to happen. So it's the same problem that we have with them all the time, that they keep their plans close to their chest. They don't divulge anything. And some of the farmers have made great investments, especially the new ones, you know, and they're young, up and coming farmers. And I just hope that Kamehameha Schools will honor that kind of ambition, that passion for agriculture, and they keep their word that that's what they want to do, because these young farmers, some of them went through that Go Farm program that Kamehameha Schools has sponsored, you know, to encourage younger people to go into farming. And then when I talked to Todd Gray, you know, he talked about, you know, I'm one of the older farmers. And I said, well, you know, I could be a template for a farmer who not necessarily grows fruits, vegetables, and things like that to eat. I could be the guy, I could be the person who instead of giving the person a fish, teaches them how to fish. So I can give them, I can sell to them the fruits and vegetables so they can grow their own produce. And I can teach the up and coming farmers how to do that too. So I mean, that's all we can do at this point. But, you know, Gene Ward, Johanna's father, was one of our knights in shining armor because he really fought for us, and we wouldn't be where we are today without him. And I really want to thank you, your family, your mom, and especially your dad. Thank you.
Judy, before you leave, you said that you didn't get the impression that they were wanting to do long-term leases. Have you any idea how long a lease they're contemplating?
No,
5 years or 10
they don't-
years?
They're not
Nothing.
divulging any kind of information. And
Okay.
that has some of our farmers really anxious because some of them have invested a lot of money hoping that they would be able to continue.
Right. Okay. Sam and then Paige.
Thank you for
And then
coming,
Greg?
Judy, and sharing the update. Based off the request from Kamehameha Schools on the updates needed for your property, can you estimate on how much that would cost you to bring it up to their standards? Because I'm curious, like that amount for only a 1-year lease certainty, it
You
could
know,
be very problematic.
the way I see it, I don't think of the costs. I'm thinking about how I want to make my land better and more presentable. So if I leave, the next farmer won't have to clean it up. And, you know, I have family, I have friends in the community who are willing to help me. So I don't think of it as dollar costs. I feel like it's just my responsibility. So.
Hi, Judy. I completely understand what you're saying, but I do understand what Sam is asking too, because my question is they've given you a laundry list, right? Of you have to do this and this has to
Yeah.
be done and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And if you do all this, then we will give you 1 year of a lease at what you're paying now. After that, we don't know.
Yeah.
So they could come in, basically that door is now open. They could come in and say, well, we're going to evict you now because, right?
Yeah, we don't know.
Because they're not saying anything beyond that 1 year. So the question, I understand what Sam's asking. If you have to put out $100,000 worth of
Oh,
whatever
no.
it is that they're asking you for, I'm just saying, but
Yeah,
if you had to
yeah.
put that out and then they're saying, well, thank you so much for putting that in. We're going to give you 1 year. And I mean, we don't know, right? They could evict you after that. So I understand what he's saying, but I commend you for your position. I worked with Rep tirelessly on working with the Valley.
What
So
we're worried about is that if they do decide to, I don't think they'll lease it to us. They call it a license where they have the opportunity. Like one of my friends, it's month to month, and that's what a license is, where they can just kick you out at any time. And the problem is that if the so-called rent is too high, unless you have value added services or things like that, it's very hard for a farmer to pay a really exorbitant rent.
Okay. Greg and then Elizabeth.
I understand, is it tomorrow that you're going to be maybe meeting with Hawaii News Now, Annalisa Burgos, and maybe Ben Gutierrez as well, along with Dave Stillwell? What is the plan? I mean, it seems to be an escalation of something, but is there a plan? It's kind of putting the cart before the horse in some ways to go to the media before having a full community
No,
discussion.
it's not gonna be an interview. We're not filming. We're just fleshing out ideas.
Does Annalisa Burgos know that?
That's what she proposed.
Okay, because yeah, it's been kind of on the works behind the scenes, and it just doesn't seem like it's taking the right steps. I would think a follow-up to the previous community meeting that Representative Ward had done
Well,
also
I've
before,
never
that would
met
be great.
him, and I've never met
I know them
Dave's
both.
firewall. So
Stillwell, Dave Stillwell. He's a Kamiliki area resident around the corner from Elizabeth.
yeah, so you know, I think of it as a talk story time to, you know, toss around ideas.
Okay, well, I would say, yeah, proceed with some caution, but also with the plan, because it has escalated quite a bit to go to the media. And it would have been better to have kind of developed a plan before contacting the media, not the first step.
I was going to say, when you're explaining about the letter and the cleanup, I think the thing that's not discussed is the planning of crop and shelf space that you're committed to with your accounts. How do you manage that over the next year? Or how do you, with confidence,
The
look to
thing
hold
is-
on to that for the
The
future?
thing is, I can plan all the way up to June of next year. But if they don't give me more time than that, poinsettias are, that's my money crop. It sustains a lot of my business for the rest of the year. If I don't get that, if I can't do my poinsettia crop in December, I don't know if I can survive.
May I ask, as you move in towards addressing the letter in your communications, that's a unique situation. I think I would ask that you share that with Kamehameha schools, that you let them know about these seasonal crops that you have.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that we get our poinsettias from Kamilanui Valley from you. So yeah, I think that's something that they probably would appreciate knowing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy, for coming and sharing an update with us, and good luck in all of those negotiations. All right. The third item under board business is the considering that resident request for park closure hours for Camilo Iki Park from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. And we'd love to hear from the community if they have any notions about this. It sounds as though park staff are not able to do much to close the park or to safeguard it after hours without something from the neighborhood board. How do board members feel about this? Do we want to take action, or is this something we want to put on the back burner? Greg?
After the last meeting, I did check it out, and there are no signs. That's kind of been established, and the restrooms are in fact open. But I also didn't see a whole lot of evidence of any people just hanging around or any problem. And I'm sure on occasion it does happen, but regular police patrolling seems like that would be effective. Because in general, I'm opposed to any park closures.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Paige?
I agree with Greg. I think that closing the park, especially because I don't know if anybody's talked about it, but I haven't heard about any boundary lines as far as the park is. If you close the park, it's huge. That is a huge piece of property. How are you going to close that? The police can't get out of their car and walk around. And it's on one side of it, if I remember correctly, is a lot of brush. And how are they going to get out of their car and go and, see if there's anybody in the brush? I think maybe I would prefer, maybe we close the bathrooms. Maybe we find a way to get that done as opposed to closing that whole park down. Maybe that's a step in the right direction.
Okay. I think that's a very reasonable kind of step to take. And we can certainly investigate what might be necessary to having the park restrooms closed after so many hours. Shall we just leave it at that?
I think maybe Amy will come back next month with a more definitive answer to that. She seemed to take that as part of her.
Okay, so at this point, then what we're saying is we might want to pursue closing the restroom facilities after hours, and that we will see how we might work to that end through the city and Department of Parks and Rec. Shall we leave it at that? Okay. All right. The other item was considering a Department of Parks and Recreation letter to designate additional Hawaii Kai community parks as dog friendly. So we need to decide, do we even want to declare any additional parks in our area to be dog friendly? And what does that mean? Leashed dogs or unleashed dogs? Herb and then Greg.
As a longtime coach, Hawaii Kai Youth Baseball, AYSO soccer, HISA soccer, using the parks, when you let people let their dogs run around, and you get surprises when you're having your sports. So I'd like it, if anything, keep it away from the, the usable space for the sports programs. That's just my suggestion, but I'm for dog parks, but more dog park style. If they can do that, that'd be great.
All right. Sam.
Yeah, I do think it is important for us to separate the dogs from children and the sporting activities. I think there's just too much room for potential tragedy because we're putting a lot of faith and onus on these dog owners to maintain their animals, which is not always going to happen. So, as we currently have the dog park across from Costco, but for residents in Kalama Valley or Kamiluiki, that is a far journey for them. So I do think it would be worthwhile to explore, using an area at Kamiluiki Community Park, potentially the area that's Mauka of the skate park, or the skate ramp that's there, and just fencing off an area for residents of Kamiluiki and Kalama Valley to take their dogs and for them to run around in an enclosed space. So that would be something that I'd be open to exploring.
You remember at last month's meeting, we had a community person, Marty, come in to say that if there were going to be any designated parks, that there needs to be a separate area for the animals as separate from where the kids are. And I seem to sense that that might be where we want to go. And what we might want to do then is to let Department of Parks and Rec know that we are not willing to designate any additional parks as dog friendly unless the department can set aside specific designated areas for the animals. If they can fence in an area and help police it, then maybe we might be willing to do that. Natalie has her hand up online. I'm going to have Natalie first, then Greg, and then Paige. Go ahead, Natalie. Natalie, are you still there? All right, we'll come back to Natalie. Greg, go ahead.
I kind of agree with you on the designated dog parks, but that isn't likely to happen. It took a real community member to establish the one down by Costco. It takes years for others to get established. And I think actually what we were asked is just to simply designate regular parks as dog friendly, which several currently are. So I think limiting it to that, because otherwise we're just really pushing it down the road to a never going to happen sort of thing. Also, I think a lot of the issues that seem to come up tonight involve enforcement. Yeah, it's posted, no dogs in most of the parks, but at any given time, I mean, every afternoon, I see 6 to 10 dogs in Kalama Valley Park. So in just a practical manner, the dogs are there and there is no enforcement. So why not just kind of designate them as dog friendly, but along with what that means in terms of cleanup and staying out of the kids' field areas, things like that. I mean, there can be rules and they can coexist. But yeah, currently there are dogs in just about every park anyway, so it just seems practical to make it official.
All right, Natalie, are you available online?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So sorry about that. I'm having technical problems. I just wanted to let you folks know that the Kamiluiki Neighborhood Park, which is the park in the valley past the skateboard park, there are dog owners in that park regularly, and usually around morning time, sometimes on weekends. Have never seen conflicts with the sports, the kids playing. They seem to come at different times. And I don't own a dog myself, but I think that that park should allow dogs on leashes. I mean, they're doing it already anyway. And as far as requiring a separate area, I get it that, in some cases that might be needed. But in this case, I think that just having the dogs allowed on leash would be a fine change for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Just clarification, what park in particular were you talking about?
It's the Kamiluiki Neighborhood Park. So it's back in the valley on Lunalilo Home Road. It's where the bus stops, if you're familiar with that.
Okay.
It's back in the valley, Kamiluiki Neighborhood Park. So past the skateboard park on Lunalilo Home Road. It's the little park where the bus stop is, the terminus.
Okay, past the skate park. All right.
Yes.
Ilse and then Paige.
Yeah, well, I have a question. In reality, I see dogs in all the parks, and there are many off leash and others on leash, and in general, it's really peaceful. However, I'm wondering if a park is designated as a dog-friendly park, if then any enforcement will be just totally go away. It just sort of reminds me like to have all these rules about no camping in the park, and then the police, HPD says, oh, you have to close the park for us to enforce. And now it seems like if we say, oh, this is a dog-friendly park, is then this allows for no enforcement whatsoever. So is it going to come around to us again and say it has to be closed because we cannot do anything about dog owners?
Paige?
So I don't know how many people here remember what Elaine went through to get Huililio and to get the dog park designated that we have across from the Hele station. It took 7 years, and there are specific requirements for dog parks. You can't just put a fence around, an acre and go, okay, this is a dog park. There are very, very specific requirements, water requirements and tree requirements, and spacing requirements, all kinds of stuff. So it's not something that just can be done in a weekend. So I think that I also don't understand what the definitions are when you say this is an on-leash park and this is an off-leash park. And are you saying that that whole park means that if it's an on-leash park that you can't take your dog there and take them off lead? Or does that mean that if it's an off-leash park, that only dogs that are off leash can go there and you can't? I don't understand what the definitions are, so I'm a little confused about that. I think that to separate an area and say everything east of these cones is dog area is kind of like saying don't pee in the deep end of the pool. I mean, dogs are going to go where dogs are going to go. So without enforcement, like Greg said, you're going to have people walking their dogs in parks. It's just going to happen. And it's unfortunate that there are situations between kids and dogs that happen and adults and dogs that happen. But I'm not sure that this is really, without more definitions and without somebody coming and saying, I'm willing to put up the money to build a dog park and I've got the permits from the city for this space. I mean, I just don't, I don't know. I'm totally confused with this whole thing, that this is even, if this is even an issue at this point.
Okay. It, I'm not sure that we're ready to take any kind of action. Herb, go ahead.
Well, myself and my constituent, Natalie Iwasa, that park across the street is well used by the neighborhood. And they are pretty much off leash when they're there, but nobody else is really in the area. So I propose that maybe we make that one our first off leash dog park.
Would it need to then be enclosed?
No, it's just what they want to know is that they just want to make signage so that people can be comfortable to bring their dog in there and let them go off the leash while the 7 owners stand around and talk story. But that's the kind of situation that it's there, and it's a good thing. And I see it all the time. So it's working there. And Natalie, who's a neighbor there, and I'm right across the street in the townhouses, you know, well, we can try one there.
I think that's a great idea, Herb, but where does the liability lie? If you've got a dog that's off leash and it bites a child, whose liability is that? If the
Does-
state has put up a sign that says this is an off leash dog park, where does the liability lie? Because that's going to be a question.
Right, that'd be the city. the city
Maybe it
park.
would be less cumbersome if the neighbors just continued to do what they do and not make not name the issue or, you know, create regulations.
This is coming from the city, right?
It is coming from the city. They wanted some input from the community.
Okay.
So no input from the community. And the board is, oh, yes, Natalie is community. So we have one suggestion that the Camilo Iki Neighborhood Park be considered as a possible dog-friendly park.
Okay, but this whole thing about on leash, off leash, that's not really the question. It is, as you just put it, dog friendly. And the city does have a definition of dog friendly. I believe that includes still being on leash. Whether they do that or not is one of those questions about enforcement. But yeah, the Camilo Iki Neighborhood Park is identical to Kalama Valley Neighborhood Park. I mean, people, it's a big social thing. They meet, the dogs run pretty free. They don't interfere with the soccer games, the baseball practices. It really works. So it really isn't a problem. And the prohibitions against dogs are not enforced. Therefore, it's probably best just to allow them to be dog friendly and let it be.
Okay. Now, do we want to bring this back to take formal action, or shall I just send an email to Department of Parks and Recreation indicating that our board may be open to the notion of designating Camilo Iki Neighborhood Park as dog-friendly? Comments?
Before you answer that question, I want to know what the city's position on the liability is. Are they willing to take liability for an off-leash park?
Okay, then maybe what we need to do in the interest of time is for me to bring back an item under board business that specifically names Camilo Iki Neighborhood Park as a possible contender for a dog-friendly designation. Greg?
And I would definitely add Kalama Valley Neighborhood Park, but we could probably keep adding to the list. Well,
Elizabeth?
I just want to remind you that we had a couple of people at our last meeting not wanting Kalama Valley, just FYI. I think she sent a letter, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Herb?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because there was somebody that was concerned about and afraid of the dogs or things like that.
All right, why don't I bring it back as a board agenda item with only considering Camilo Iki Neighborhood Park the portion past the skate park. Okay? And then we can decide yes or no.
And
Or
I'll
a
talk to
friendly
those people that go to the park to see what their input is.
Right. We'll welcome community input. Okay. The last item under board business, the update on Cocoa Crater Stables, I believe was covered during the mayor's reps report. So board committee reports. Elizabeth, we had a committee
Sure.
meeting.
So we had a meeting, planning environment, had a meeting about the renaming of that section of Hawaii Kai Drive that goes up towards Kalama Valley. There's a small community group that I have working on it is Malia Marquez and Marie Kirk and from Tommy Waters' office. I've liaisoned with the city on it and I'm going through the list of what they recommend. What I want to share with you and the takeaway at this moment right now is we've checked with HPD and I'm waiting from the fire department. When you change names, it's always good to find out what their thoughts are. HPD said it's irrelevant. Oh, and Herb also. Sorry, Herb. It wasn't an issue for HPD. The residents that live on that corridor are the most important. If the majority say it's okay, then fine. If the majority say no, it's not going to go anywhere. The key is going to be, what do you call it? So the two things that came up would be, in the school, Camilla Wiki, the principal, is very interested in participating in the process. Obviously, the school felt naming it Camilla Wiki made a lot of sense, but then on the other side, other resident that we met with, and Herb was there, mentioned that if you take Hawaii Kai Drive and you just change the word drive to something else and it still stays Hawaii Kai, it makes it easier for the residents. This is just the short overview of where we're at. More work to be done. And that's pretty much where we're at. This may end up going nowhere or it may go somewhere. So just a heads up, we're just following up on what we were tasked to do since the sustainable plan in 2022 was approved and signed, and we were tasked to do this. So I would probably say I'll take probably the next 4 months to continue to work on it slowly. My biggest concern was not reaching out to the residents before we knew more. For instance, I believe it was Paige, she was at another meeting where it was suggested we come up with a big list of what does a resident have to do if they do have to change their address, all those changes of addresses that they have to go to. So having a good reality check on that is important. I think there's not more than 8 or 9 residencies on that street. 10 residencies on that street. Again, we think it's a little still too premature to go to them, but we will be touching base with them. That's it. Nothing else.
All right. Thank you for that update, Elizabeth. Next item on our agenda is approval of our regular meeting minutes, and the version of the draft for you to consider tonight I sent to all of you. It is a 4-page draft that Ilse and I worked on, and not the 3-page original draft that was posted online. Are there any corrections or revisions to the minutes for April 29? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as they were distributed. Any other board announcements from anybody? Congratulations to those of you who are going to be returning as board members. And those of you who are not returning, we still have one more meeting in your term of office. So we'll see you all next month. And I'm going to go into the closing announcements. The next regular meeting of the Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board is on Tuesday, June 24th at 7 p.m. at the Hawai'i Elementary School cafeteria and on WebEx. And Neighborhood Board regular meetings are cablecast on Olelo, and Hawaii Kai is shown on Channel 49 on the second Monday of the following month at 9 p.m., repeating on that month's third Friday at 7 a.m. The videos of our meetings are also available online at the olelo.org or at the Neighborhood Commission office archived meeting website. I want to thank everybody for staying with us. Have a great month. Summer is starting. Enjoy. Meeting is adjourned.